Let's see how we'll be adding the dye to our silk hoop flowers. Each table will have different colors of dyes. Reds will have reds, orange will have orange, yellow, yellow, and so on. So once you have your designs completely figured out, you will go to the table colors you need. So for mine, I'm starting with my flower, and I need those yellows and those goldens. So I will go to that yellow table. Do not take the inks out. Those dyes need to stay in the container, especially once they are opened up. You'll notice one is liquidy and one is more of that gel. It will not come out if it falls over as quickly. When I hold my paintbrush, I hold it where the metal and the wood meet. My paintbrush does not stay in the dye. I just do a tiny touch of it in there. You have some water if we need to clean the brush between colors. So as I go to dip mine, I dip just the hairdo parts in. I don't let it go all the way to the bottom of the container. I hold up my silk hoop as I do this so it does not get all over that paper and smear into areas I don't want. Now notice how when I touch that dye onto the silk hoop, it automatically starts to spread. This is that liquid, more liquid dye, not the gel dye. So the liquid dye will spread. The only reason it stops is because it gets right up against the glue. So now that I did all my yellow spaces, I am ready to do my golden. So I'm going to clean my paintbrush, press, press, turn, wipe it on the lip so it doesn't drip. You do not tap. Then I need to squeeze off the extra water. I do not want to get water in the fabric dye. It will ruin the dye in the coloring. I can even wipe it on the messy mat in the middle of my table. Now, don't pick yours up like I just did. You need to keep it in the tray. You do a tiny touch. Watch how this time it does not bleed. It's not moving anywhere. It stays exactly where I put it. That's the difference between the gel and the more liquid version. So this you actually have to spread out as you go. Be very careful with the gel and make sure you're holding it up as you paint with that silk. Now I can use the gel and control where it goes. So here I am adding some shadows into my petals because it will not bleed and go other places. It will only go where I place it. That's the cool thing about the gel colors. So here I'm going to go add some details into each of my petals. Now that I have my flower done, I'm ready to pick up my artwork and go to another table for the other colors I need. So mine, I need greens. So for my stems and for my background, I decided to use green coloring. So let's see how I'll do that. I'll have the brushes that are at green to use. So I do that tiny touch and I'm just doing my leaves and my stem first. I'm leaving that background for last. So again, I just use that liquid dye. It spreads on into the space it needs to go, so I just need a little bit at a time. Clean your brush. Now let's see how I'll do that background space. I'm adding some water first, just like Daniel Jean-Baptiste does, and I'm filling a section with just water. So I make sure it is clean as I do this, and I'm careful not to touch the glue parts. Now I squeegee my paintbrush so it's more dry, and then I touch the ink I need. And this time I'm going to be coloring by doing dotting. So I'm going to dot that color around. Don't forget to hold up the silk hoop whenever you add dye to it. I'm going to continue doing that all the way around. Now, if you do the water, you will have more white spaces behind. If you don't want more of those white spaces in your background, then don't add the water. So here I'll show you in just a second how I do it, but I don't add the water. Now, you can add 2 colors into a space as long as they are next to each other at the same table. So if they're at the same table or next door neighbor colors, you can let them blend together because they will make pretty colors and they will make analogous colors. So only those can be mixed. And I clean my brush before I use a new color. Make sure your ink goes all the way to the edges of your hoop and you have no white spaces. Then we'll bring these to the drying rack to dry. There we have our silk hoops.